All right. Okay, we're back. We just took a little break.
Okay.
And why don't you tell me about a couple of your firsts? What was your first job?
My first job was cleaning houses in Park Forest. And that was when the kids were little. And Roosevelt, he was about 12. And when he was out of school, he would take care of the other kids while I worked. So I would have to catch a bus, go to Park Forest, work, then come back and catch the bus back home to Harvey, because I lived in Dixmoor then, and, take care of the kids. And that's what I did for a while. Then
Did you work a lot of hours?
about 8 hours for $1 an hour.
$1 an hour.
Mm-hmm. Then after that, I worked.
What year was this, by the way? What year?
Let me see. I just had the 4. No. I think it was about 1957. I think that's when that was. Because I didn't have the 2 younger ones. And
so you were still with Dub?
Mm-hmm.
And how did he like you working?
Oh, well, he was lazy. He just wanted to work one job. You needed 2 with the children. But, so I decided I would go and work, and have some of the things that we needed anyway.
Wow. So you were lazy if you didn't want to work 2 jobs.
He just wanted to work one job. That's what he said. And that was my thought. Maybe he wasn't. Maybe he had something wrong, and I didn't know. But
so how long did you work that job?
you know what? I couldn't tell you specifically. But after that job, I worked in hotels in Harvey, because at that time it was 2 hotels in Harvey. And Bernice and I worked in the hotel, cleaning the rooms, and we would get good tips.
And Bernice is your
The
cousin?
cousin.
That was your
Mm-hmm.
really good friend?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
And, and then after that, I worked in a nursing home. And
This was after you finished, did some nursing school? Or
you know what? This was before nursing school. I left the nursing home. We went to nursing school.
How was your experience there at the nursing home, without any real medical experience?
It was hard work, back-breaking work.
Like, what were some of the things that you did there?
Well, you have to get the patients up and wash them, get them up, and put them in a chair. The ones that could wheel themselves in a wheelchair, they did that. But some of them, they couldn't do anything, so they stayed in bed. And you would have to get them up, set them, put them in a chair, and let them sit there for a while. 2 or 3 or 4 hours, which, it was too much, but that's what we had to do at that time. And it was backbreaking, and you didn't call people to help you unless it was really an emergency, because people didn't want to help you. They wanted to do their own work, and it was just hard, backbreaking work.
Understand. So this was, what year would you say this was that you first went to school?
And I started in 1976. I would take courses, I started at Thornton,
And that's when you got your GED?
Mm-hmm, got the GED.
So what made you want to go back to school?
I always did, because I thought it was vital, and then too, I thought if I didn't know, I didn't go to school, then how could I tell my children to go to school? So they saw me struggling, trying to work and, go to school. So, and eventually, I did have to stop for a while, but I would always go back, and then I got my GED, you know. And then I could start with the classes for nursing. So that's what I did.
That's excellent. Let's see here. What haven't we covered? We're missing something good. So, if I can go back for a little bit.
Okay.
So, the 1960s, the civil rights struggle, of course it started before that. From your point of view, how did you see that? So, you were in Chicago at that time. You were in Harvey already,
Right.
or Dixmoor, and from your point of view, what did you see? When did Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. first come into your life or your world? When did you first hear about him?
You know, it was in the 60s,
Mm-hmm.
but, you know, I would only hear about it on TV, things like that. I never was in, you know, in the, I never did, you know, go to
Like
the
an
meetings
activist,
or do
right.
anything. I wasn't an activist. And then after all that in 1960, 8, that's when I became one of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Ah, okay, that's a really important thing for you.
Yeah.
How did you become a Jehovah's Witness?
Well, it was the ladies, they would come to the door, you know, and
They still do.
we do. Lots of they don't let us in, but they slam the door in our face, but we go anyway. But because it's good news to tell, you know, everyone read the Bible. It's a lot of stuff that's happening right now that was told years and years ago. And
So when they came to your door over in Dixmoor, and you opened,
no, you know what? It was in Harvey. We were living in Harvey on 144th Street then.
okay,
144th, right off Ashland. And they would come sometime before that, before I really start to let them in, because, you know, I didn't study because I would be busy or running with the kids, and then I would be just tired. And then after a while, it was Sister Bowman and another lady. They came and we started to study, and it was interesting, very interesting. You know, because I didn't know anything about the Bible. And they taught me how to, you know, look up things in the Bible and study, and we had a book we would read, and that's how I came to be one of Jehovah's Witnesses, because I found out it was the truth.
it was a place like you felt like you belonged to, right?
Yes. But then I had a hard time studying because my husband didn't want to, you know, we had one car, and when we needed to go to the meetings, the children and I, sometimes we couldn't go because we didn't have any way. And then sometime he would let us have the car to go to the meeting.
So you introduced all of the kids into the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Yeah, they were studying when they were little, but they thought it was too restricting. They didn't want to do like children always do. They didn't want to do the right thing. Because
Children don't want to clean their rooms.
That's true. And you know, when they got big enough or grown enough, they said it was, you know, they didn't want to do it. You know, I'm sorry, I'm looking over there.
But a couple of your children did accept the teachings.
Michael.
I know Roosevelt would come sometimes
true.
too, right?
Yes, he did, because he was studying. He hadn't got baptized, but he was on his way to. Yes, and I was so proud of him, because he would go always to the memorial. He didn't go the last year because he was ill at that time. But your mother, she go to the memorial.
So, and your oldest child, Roosevelt, he passed away recently.
In September 2008.
2008. How old was he?
He was 57.
57. Do you have any memories about Uncle Roosevelt that you'd like to?
He was a good boy. I never ever had a problem talking back or anything to me at all. He was not always so good out in the street, I heard, but to me, he was always a good boy. And that's how I came by this house, by him buying this house, and he gave it to me.
He gave you this house.
He gave me this house, and he bought another.
That's awesome. I need to give my mother a house.
Well, your mother had one.
I'm working on it. I'm gonna give her a house too.
No, she had one already.
She does.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell my father that, but she does.
You know what? That's what I gave. I gave her a house. That's why, that's why we're working on it together. But I'm sure you're not going to let him see this, then he'll know.
I'm gonna cut this stuff out. Okay, so what kind of hobbies do you have? What do you like to do now? Other than studying. I know you do study, and you do study
Go door
on
to
a
door.
very regular basis.
Most of the time now, I don't do too much. But, my hobby is traveling.
Okay.
That's the best thing that ever. I've been to every state in the United States except 3.
Which 3 haven't you been to?
Maine, North, and South Carolina.
Okay. So what are some of the places that you have been? Like, you don't have to give me the rest of the 47
Alaska.
states. But some of the most memorable ones.
Alaska is the most memorable.
And why would you say that?
It's just beautiful. The wild life and it's just beautiful.
Describe it to me. How did you feel when you first saw Alaska?
I was in awe. I was in awe of it. Especially out to look at the glaciers and look at the whales out in the ocean. And we were on the ship, and the captain cut the motor off of the ship so we could hear and see, the whales. But it was just in awe, and I still am. I really am.
So the air, I imagine, was
Just
pretty clean.
It was. You could breathe. You really could.
Was it very cold?
It was cold, but it wasn't really, really cold because it was in July.
Okay.
But you needed a jacket there because it was a gloomy day. Sometime it would be gloomy and be cool, so you needed a jacket. But it was just beautiful. You could see the waterfalls coming down off the mountains, and you could look up and see the flowers growing up on the mountain. It was just, and you could see people live there. And we were wondering how did they get back and forth, but I guess they had cut roads and stuff around in there.